Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you regard the November 8th presidential election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton as a popularity contest, that miscalculation may result in the economic destruction of the United States of America and also your children's economic future. I want to seriously speak to you, the American voter, on an alarming reality that you may not be aware of, but it's coming right at you. The next 4 to 8 years will be critical to the economic survival of America. Your survival, the survival of your children, and their futures. Hillary Clinton is for amnesty of 11 million illegals and the continuation of Bill Clinton's 7 free trade agreements. However, legalizing the 11 million illegals and continuing Bill Clinton's 7 free trade agreements will in 4 to 8 years transform the United States into a third world country. Much the same as most of Europe currently, especially Greece and Spain. As a voter, you need to seriously consider the following before voting on November the 8th for Hillary Clinton. This is a very serious commentary about an event in the future that will absolutely be an eventuality, and it's going to impact on your lives and your very survival, economic survival, within the next 4 years. So you need to listen carefully so you can decide how you want to vote in the November election. The 11 million illegals are draining the U.S. Treasury of $55 billion, taxpayer dollars, each year on welfare freebies they're not paying for. If Hillary Clinton legalizes them, these 11 million illegals, as legals then, will then drain the U.S. Treasury of $55 billion welfare dollars every year for life, taxpayer dollars. Bill Clinton's 7 free trade agreements are corporate licenses to outsource, i.e. steal and give away tens of millions of jobs of U.S. workers to Central and South America and Asian workers. So these greedy corporations, regardless of the welfare of the United States, can only pay $2 per hour to increase their margin of profit. By the way, these are multinational corporations. They're not American. They're not patriotic to America. They don't care what happens to America, as long as they can pay only $2 per hour. That costs an American job, no problem. Not only does this deprive the U.S. Treasury of 20+ million payroll taxes, the fatal part of the big corporations' transfer of U.S. jobs, millions of them, to foreign soil, is that these former American salaries are now going to foreign workers. And who spend these salaries in their country and not in the United States, which removes this working capital, circulating money from the U.S. economy. Circulating money is the backbone of every nation. Any college economic professor will tell you that. Circulating money is the backbone of every country. In other words, if you have $1 and it circulates 1,000 times, that dollar becomes $1,000 and can buy 1,000 $1 McDonald's hamburgers. You take that circulating money out of this country and put it in another country. It circulates in that country and builds their economy. But our economy, dependent upon that circulating dollar and the 1,000 McDonald's hamburgers that don't get sold, and all the industries that support McDonald's all crash without that circulating money. And when they crash, that spills American workers into the unemployment rolls. You remove working capital from a nation like they're doing, like these big multinational corporations are doing, unstopped by Congress, because they pay off Congress. Congress, as you know, is for sale. You give them the right amount of bribe and you'll get what you want. But you remove that kind of working capital from the American economy and place it in a foreign economy, our industries will crash, and you'll spill tens of millions of American workers out into the unemployment rolls and probably soup lines, like the 30s profession. These free trade agreements, Bill Clinton's free trade agreements, are killing America. And they're fully endorsed by Hillary Clinton, who intends to continue them, which means more of the same, which means millions more jobs will be lost in the next 4 to 8 years if Hillary Clinton is elected, further emptying circulating money out of the U.S. economy, which will crash more industries and put more people out of work. And along with all those people being out of work, the erasing of America's middle class, which has already happened. Now, knowing the mechanics of the free trade agreements, this is the reason your vote for Hillary Clinton on November the 8th will prove economically fatal to the United States over the next 4 to 8 years, causing the USA to free fall into a third world country. And no, that's not possible. Let me explain. That will happen. Our national debt is $20 trillion, all owed to China. The U.S. government and American economy has been functioning on borrowed money from China all through the Obama administration. You don't hear about that. Just last year alone, President Obama increased the national debt $1 trillion, an additional $1 trillion owed to China. You don't hear about that. The U.S. government, and when our debt to China reaches $24 trillion, the interest payments on the debt will be America's entire gross national product, meaning there will not be 50 cents for a postage stamp left, or a tank of gasoline for a government vehicle, or Social Security payments to our 40 million Social Security recipients. They don't have any money to pay one federal employee's salary. It'll all be gone. Now, if the U.S. doesn't pay that debt to China, it gets worse. If the U.S. defaults on its payments to China on our loan, the USA will lose its global credit. And then no nation will deal with a country that's not going to pay its bills. With the loss of global credit will come the crash of American industry, resulting in probably 30 to 60 million American workers being spilled out onto the streets and into soup lines. This is it's very similar to the 1930s Great Depression. With the USA's transformation into a third world country, which event may take decades of hard times to recover from, revolution also may be on our doorstep, as history confirms, when the United States in the 1930s almost converted to communism as a result of its economic crash in the Depression. Visionary Donald Trump sees this visionless. Hillary Clinton does not. A vote for Hillary is a vote for more of the same, i.e. the retention of her husband's free trade agreements, and with amnesty for the 11 million illegals then legal after amnesty, a $55 billion in welfare freebie freebie benefits, draining the U.S. Treasury for life as legals now, and a guaranteed economic disaster for the United States. To give you a timeline for this economic disaster in the making, racing toward the U.S. shores like a 1,000-foot tidal wave, and nobody sees it. I guess nobody wants to see it because they're only into a popularity contest and how Donald Trump talks and what jokes he makes. They never consider for a second his leadership. Teddy Roosevelt and Harry Truman were also outspoken, in many cases charmless, but they're powerful leaders that the United States needed in times of trouble. Donald Trump is that same type of powerful leader, already having proved himself regarding financial and economic acumen, which is exactly what our country needs at this time. Hillary Clinton has never been in business her entire life. And back to the timeline, we owed $19 trillion to China last year. We added an additional $1 trillion thanks to the mismanagement, Obama and Clinton. Now we owe China $20 trillion. When our debt to China reaches the fatal number of $24 trillion, that will, by the year 2020, that will be the time when America will economically stop breathing, as we will free fall into a third world country. Mass unemployment and soup lines destroying all hope, along with your children's and my children's future, because the interest on $24 trillion debt to China is our entire gross national product, leaving not 25 cents for the United States to pay any of its bills or debts. We will be out of money. And what do we do when we're out of money? We default on the debt. Nobody will trade with us globally, and our infrastructure and business within the infrastructure will all crash because we will lost the global market, meaning with that, tens of millions of American workers will be spilled out into the unemployment rolls and probably soup lines. With all this, I mean, the direction we're going is the reason Warren Buffett is transferring his money out of the country. Now, if he can see it, why can't the rest of us see it? For the myopic among us, this presidential election on November the 8th is not about whether Donald Trump put a frog down a student's pants when he was in kindergarten. It's about America's very economic survival and the future economic survival of our children. With the fall of our economy, in mathematical reality, comes the fall of our military. We can no longer afford subjecting America to being overrun by our more economically powerful enemies that hate us, who can afford to pay for a powerful military. We're out of funds. We're not building any more aircraft carriers. And we will be diminishing our military steadily as long as our U.S. Treasury remains empty. Ladies and gentlemen, this November election is no longer a laughing matter or subject of newspaper satirical cartoons. All those games are over, or should be for you. Pure nonsense regarding the press is having a field day with it without touching reality. With the Donald Trump presidency and his return to the tariffs, America will survive. With the Hillary Clinton presidency, with her continued free trade agreements and amnesty for the 11 million illegals, America will be economically destroyed in 48 years once we reach that $24 trillion limit debt to China, which will happen because our jobs will continue to be outsourced by the 7 free trade agreements, meaning there's no payroll taxes to go into the U.S. Treasury to repay China's loan, and we'll continue to be living on credit from China. So we will. It's a dead certainty we're going to reach the 24 trillion if Hillary Clinton is elected, because she's going to continue the free trade agreements, which are no more than multinational corporations' license to outsource and steal American jobs, along with America's circulating capital. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what's coming at us. What is in the very near future is an economic reality and certainty. The choice is yours. At stake is your children's futures and mine. The issue is whether the American voter is smart enough to save themselves, aside from the pop culture hype on television. What America needs is a proven leader with awesome economic skills and financial management abilities to stop the USA from economically going over the cliff in 4 years when we reach that fatal $24 trillion debt mark, which we're racing toward at this time. That leader who can save us, mainly with the tariff, is irrefutably Donald Trump. By contrast, Hillary Clinton, as I've stated, has no business experience. I have said all I can. The survival of this nation is now in your hands. The tariff will place a price tag on the cheap goods coming back into America using foreign cheap labor at $2 an hour, making that foreign cheap labor $25 an hour. And the tariff will make it cheaper for multinational greedy corporations to hire Americans than foreigners. This will bring tens of millions of our jobs back to our shores, 20 million payroll taxes to refill our U.S. Treasury. With that, it will be, with all those jobs coming back to American shores, will be the return of our middle class. The tariffs are our only salvation. Donald Trump, financial wizard, he's accumulated $10 billion. He's highly skilled at financial management. He can see the future, he can see what's coming at us, and I believe has the ability to turn it all around with the return of the tariffs to save the United States of America, so that we can pay off our $20 trillion debt to China and eventually start getting into the black, where we'll have money again for teacher salary, schools, and infrastructure repair, and no longer having, will we have to live on borrowed money as we have had to have done for the last 8 years under the Obama Hillary Clinton leadership. Again, you now know the score. You now see the tidal wave that is racing toward you and will hit within 4 to 8 years. We'll be out of money, along with being out of hope for your children's economic survival. I think we owe our children more than this. I think we owe our children responsible, intelligent thinking. I think we owe a debt to our children to preserve their future and keep it safe. To repeat, the survival of this nation is now in your hands. I hope you are taking this message seriously, because this disaster is heading right for us, and will hit within 4 years, especially with the continuation of the free trade agreements, losing more of our American jobs like a river out of this country. We need to be responsible enough now to save our country. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and good night.